Good evening, folks. Welcome to the ANZCAR Thunder Series, coming to you live from Richmond Speedway. And your commentary team tonight's myself, Bernie Weemers, and I've got the voice of ANZCAR with me, Steve Hoppett. Welcome, mate.
Yeah, good day, Bernie. Good day, viewers. How you doing out there? It's going to be a great night, and we're happy to be here.
Yeah, it certainly is. We've got a lot to cover, folks. And earlier on in the week, we had the Xfinity Truck Series take to this track for round 11. Let's go over to the highlights of that, and let's find out exactly how they went.
Welcome to the highlights of round 11 of the ANZCAR 2018 Monday Night Truck Series, proudly sponsored by 131 Web Radio. This round is 130 laps around Richmond Raceway as we take in the action right now, and off pole position, Jackson Callow with Matt Danson starting from position 2. And of course, Jackson gets a pretty good start here and puts the foot down. He got a great start off that one and left Danson and the rest of the field behind, but they soon caught up to him as Danson begins to work his way around the back of Jackson Callow's vehicle. And behind Danson, we've got James Robbie, Sam Catagazinis. And incident already on lap 1 as Nicholas Walsh has a bit of a technical issue and has no steering, takes out Steve Hoppett. And they both spent a very long period in the pits for that one. But the race continues as Callow continues to lead with Danson trying to find a way through. Nick Shiles will actually get a bit loose there and clouts the wall. That's fairly early on, and it won't be the last time somebody does that. With Todd Maxfield and the crew all making their way around, a little bit of a gap there as Danson has gotten past Callow and actually begins to lead this one. Callow doing everything he can to try and catch back up, but he had a lot more to worry about than just Matt Danson as James Robbie, Sam Catagazinis and Ashley Lear begin to actually make their presence felt all over the back of it. Sam Kay actually gets a bit loose there, gives up a spot to Ashley Lear as we see Todd Maxfield battling with Aaron Dillon. And Ashley Lear has managed to get past a couple of the guys there. He's moved through on James Robbie and is running down Jackson Callow. Nick Shiles trying to deal with Matt Danson and Aaron Dillon getting loose as Callow actually takes care of a couple of the slower cars in the field, with Aaron Dillon getting a spot up on Sammy Bobby. Todd Maxfield still circulating around as Ashley Lear gets past Nick Shiles, with Sam Catagazinis and James Robbie battling. They battled like this the entire race, back and forward, side by side, as Aaron Dillon gets it very loose and into the wall and caused a little bit of havoc and did a lot of damage to his car. So of course he spent quite a bit of time in the pits as well, as we see Hayden Dodman making a bit of a move there, and he comes and may have just brushed the wall on that one, going on board with car 083 Nicholas Shiles. As we see the boys circulating, Sam Catagazinis chasing down Hayden Dodman. They battled like that for a while, back and forward in position, with Nicholas Shiles in behind them there, waiting on an opportunity in case something went wrong and they came together. But it basically was just hammer and tong. And you've got Jackson Callow there, and he's fending off what looks like Hayden Dodman. And that went on for a couple of laps before eventually Hayden Dodman made a little bit of a mistake, got loose, and around he went across onto the grass, and I believe that brought out a pace car. So of course we got the restart with Matt Danson leading the field away as Jackson Callow gets loose off the restart into the wall and was very lucky not to get cleaned up there. James Robbie battling with Ash Lear. Sam Catagazinis also making a move there when Ashley Lear appeared to must have gotten loose and lost some speed, with Nicholas Shiles and Jackson Callow coming together there. And one of the luckiest guys out there appears to have been Todd Maxfield, who seemed to avoid a lot of the damage that some of the other guys were suffering from by not getting into any major incidents. So it may look like Todd Maxfield was running around on his own there, but it seemed to play into his hands as we see Matt Danson continue to lead from Sam Katagazinas and Ashley Lear, with James Robbie wanting in on the action. And Robbie actually makes a move on Ashley Lear and tries to make a move on Sam Katagazinas, but runs out a bit of puff. And I believe that's Ashley Lear into the wall. Yep, got a little bit loose and off the side of the track, as we see Steve Hoppett re-entering the track on cold tyres, obviously, after that lap 1 incident. And he spent around 71, 72 laps in the pits as Matt Danson continues to lead. And we see Nicholas Walsh, who was also in that lap 1 incident with Steve Hoppett, as we see Matt Danson making the pass on Steve Hoppett. James Robbie also getting the better of Steve Hoppett in that crippled vehicle, as Nicholas Shiles cleans it up into the wall again. And a penalty was actually handed out following a protest to Jackson Callow for that restart. Obviously jumped the start past other vehicles before the line, but it didn't do him a lot of good, because James Robbie and Matt Danson both got the better of him after that restart. Steve Hoppett and Nicholas Walsh went at it lap after lap. Rd11 getting in on the action, makes the move on Steve Hoppett, but the battle between Hoppett and Walsh went on lap after lap after lap, swapping positions back and forward. It was great action and great racing. As the race progressed, and Matt Danson continued to lead the race, and there's another great battle that was taking place between Sam Katagazinas and James Robbie. Todd Maxfield continues to circulate, and there's Sammy Bobby and James Robbie going at it again, as Jackson Callow continues to make up spaces, with Hoppett and Walsh still going at it, as Danson takes Walsh and begins to lap the back markers, as he also makes the move on Steve Hoppett and moves on up onto Rd11 as he crosses the line. So third place goes to number 41, James Robbie. Second place to 968, Sam Katagazinas. And of course, first place, number 30, Matt Danson, who continues to lead the championship. That'll wrap things up from Richmond Raceway, and next week, round 12, we head to Talladega Super Speedway, where it should be a whole different kettle of fish, a much more open, faster race. We'll join you then.
So there you go, folks. That was the roundup of round 11 of the NASCAR Trucks Monday night series. Having a look at the points after that round has finished up. Matt Danson extends his lead. He's now on 499 points. Nicholas Walsh in second on 367 points. Third, Todd Maxfield on 359 points, with James Robbie there on 356. Steve Hoppett not having a good night there, but sitting in fifth on 314 points. Nicholas Shields in sixth on 306 points. Michelle Callow there in seventh on 296 points. Sam Katagazinas, great to see him out there having a run and taking second. He's in eighth, so he's moved up into the top 10 on 227 points. Mirko Dortnack, he drops down to ninth on 214 points, and Tim Dawes, he's back into the top 10 as well on 208 points. Well, Steve, that was an exciting race. What's it like actually calling the highlights and calling yourself in the third person?
Yeah, well, I get used to it. Been doing it for a fair while, so sometimes it's just what's necessary, Bernie.
Yeah, fair enough. And looking at the Xfinity, that's what we hear about tonight, folks. And the racing's going to start in the next 15 minutes. We're going to be going to qualifying fairly shortly. But before we do, we've got quite a few things to wrap up. First thing is, let's go through the points coming into round 11 here at Richmond. So Jason Martin at the moment, he's leading on 435 points, but I'm not sure if he's out there on the circuit at the moment. Josh Micklemore sitting in second on 391 points. Thomas Hinz third, 368 points. Dave Douglas in the number 10, and I know there's a viewer barracking for him already in fourth on 347 points, with Danny G sitting in fifth on 342 points. Matt Clowett, he's sitting in sixth position on 340 points, with Steve Williams in seventh on 339 points. Got Craig Lawless sitting in eighth on 304, and then Norman Clark in ninth on 303, and Edward Foster, he rounds out our top 10, and he's entered the top 10 on 298 points. So Steve, it's great to see Mr. Foster there. He's made the top 10.
Oh, absolutely, Bernie. I'm really happy to see that on the slide. Actually, nearly as happy to see that on the slide as I was that I managed to hold on to fifth after what happened on Monday night. So seeing Edward slip into the top 10 there is just fantastic stuff. And Norman still holding his spot inside the top 10 too. That's good.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I can confirm Jason Martin is out there on the circuit in the number 21. And he set the fastest time. So looking at our practice times at the moment, Jason Martin's the fastest on 22.157, but not far behind him is Josh Micklemore. He'll be looking at trying to beat Martin tonight to maximise his points haul. He's sitting in second on 22.189. Kai Slog at third on 22.221. Edward Foster fourth fastest in practice so far, 22.263, and fifth is Danny G on 22.281.
Look, just fantastic stuff. They're running some great laps out there tonight, Bernie, and unfortunately what we're seeing as far as lap times here are concerned, I don't think is going to have much of a bearing on the race itself. It's also very slippery out there. Just Edward Foster going around underneath the commentary booth there, and he was looking pretty good, and then suddenly they just got a little bit loose on him. So going to be very interesting tonight, Bernie.
Yeah, well, looking at the track, I noticed the trucks had a fair few problems out there. I think they probably had about 5 safety cars, and you drove here last Monday night in the truck. No, it's a different animal, but what can we take from that, and what do you think we'll be expecting here tonight in the Xfinity?
Lots of slides, I've got to tell you. It's very easy to get loose here. Sunday night, the official practice for the trucks, everybody was having issues with it. It was just... as you're coming around out of the turns, the rear end will step out if you're not careful. You can't just bury it and keep it there. It may look like it, but it's not a track that lends itself. You've got to drive them gently. These guys are finding this out tonight as well. Anybody who's been watching the practice, like myself, keeping an eye on the way guys are going out there, it is very slippery and it's very easy to get into trouble, and that's exactly what happened on Monday night. As we saw on the highlights, there was a lot of slipping, a lot of sliding, a lot of synchronised sliding with Jackson Callow and a couple of the other guys really just pushing a little bit too hard. And as the tyres get older, it gets even worse. I mean, fresh rubber, it doesn't even help you around here, Bernie.
Okay, so that's definitely something no doubt the drivers are fully aware of, and they'll take on board. We'll keep a close eye on that as the racing progresses. Looking at the weather out there at the moment, folks, partly cloudy, 44 degrees Celsius or 111 degrees Fahrenheit, depending where you come from in the world. So I tell you what, it's hot out there today, Steve, and I reckon the guys are going to feel every single bit of that in the next 130 laps.
Oh, look, absolutely. Anybody who's done any practice here will know you can't practice and strategise for the minimal number of pit stops. If the chance comes to pit, you've got to take it here. You really do. Fresh rubber at every opportunity is what's going to actually help to win this race or get on the podium. But at the same time, guys who are going to take it a little bit easy, and that might be their strategy, rather than push hard because they know how easy it is for everybody else to get into trouble. We may even see some of those guys work their way towards the front as long as they can keep it off the wall and out of other people's incidents.
Okay. Yeah, and that's going to be the thing, isn't it? That's what we see a lot is you've got to keep it out of other people's incidents and keep that car straight and clean for that race home. And we've seen in past races some big names being claimed by getting involved in some incidents sometimes, it's them creating the incident, and sometimes it's them not. But it's one thing the drivers will have in their back of their minds, that's for sure. As far as tonight goes, folks, 130 laps around here, unlimited incident points, but that means nothing because they have no fast repairs. So if you get involved in the big one, you're going to have a very long night here at Richmond.
Oh, absolutely. I had a very short night, but I was here for the entire event and managed to finish the race on Monday. I would hope for all these guys' sake they don't fall into that little situation. 35, 40 minutes in the pits here. I actually spent about 35 or so getting repairs done, and it cost me 71 laps. So that's a big chunk, and as soon as that happens and you've got any major sort of damage, it's all about trying to resurrect some points, because as far as a competitive point of view is concerned, if that happens, you're out of it.
Yeah, exactly right. We saw that last Saturday. We're running the Bristol 500-mile race last Saturday, and we saw a lot of cars spending a lot of time in the pits, didn't they, and trying to get that car repaired. So exactly what you said. If you come unstuck here, folks, earlier on in the race, expect to spend a long time in the pits. At the end of the day, when that happens, you're pretty much then just coming out to try and salvage any points you possibly can.
Yeah, and having said that as well, keep in mind there were guys who managed to finish reasonably well on Monday night in the trucks, but they'd managed to bash it up against the wall a few times. Now, I'm not talking about a slide and then nosing it into the wall. These guys were just bouncing it off the wall, gliding along the wall, stuff like that. The real damage is going to come from head-on and from getting involved in other incidents. And of course, things happen, you know. I mean, the incident on Monday night on lap 1 between myself and Nicholas Walsh, there was just absolutely nothing anybody could do about that. He had a technical issue, lost his steering, and that's what happened. So everything's fine and everything is good. I mean, you know, I'm not out hunting for him with a gun or anything like that, so it's all fine, you know. But hopefully we won't see anything like that tonight, that we'll see guys sitting in the pits for 70, 75 or even 80 laps, because it will stretch the field out, it'll thin things out a bit, and the best way to get some good racing here is to keep as many cars on track as possible.
Exactly right, and that's what we saw at Bristol, didn't we? It was a fast race in the end. Had a few cautions earlier on, but once they got running, it was over and done with very quickly, and hopefully we'll have that again here tonight, folks. A lot of green race action and a lot of great racing. We've got 18 cars out there at the moment, as we see our Dave Douglas there slip sliding away, but that's the end of practice. Now comes a serious bit of getting that car on the grid, and we'll see who does what here, eh?
Oh yeah, look, this is going to be interesting. I'm more interested in who's actually going to get 2 good, clean qualifying laps in, because it's going to be very easy to try and push for a good qualifying lap and a good starting position on the grid. And at the same time, it's going to be difficult to do that without the rear end stepping out or brushing the wall. So it's going to be pretty interesting, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the first cars out is Josh Carroll Walden and Phil Otto. They're the first two we'll have a look at. Josh Carroll Walden, he'll start his lap now, and we'll see what sort of a time he can put in, and see what benchmark he's going to put for the other guys here. So you can just see it there, 22.402 was the first lap for him. What about Phil Otto here? He's coming through, and he did a 22.726. So at the moment, Josh Carroll Walden to the top there, and now they're all starting to come out. So expect these times to tumble, Steve.
Oh yeah, look, the first lap they'll be feeling their way around. The second lap they'll probably have a better idea what they can get away with, as Phil Otto crosses the line, I think, for the end of his second lap, and that's exactly how it can happen. He goes into a slide, and even with his foot off it, the momentum just carries him across to the inside wall. So we're going to see plenty of that tonight, Bernie.
Yeah, Mirko Dortnak on screen now, folks. He jumps up to second with a 22.535. Darren McKenzie's also out there. You can see the view there from his roof cam there as he's now pushed down to fourth because Danny G jumped straight up to provisional pole with a 22.359. So the times are starting to tumble as we predicted.
Oh, yeah, look, it's great to see Danny up the front. He's having a real good run at the moment. He's doing exceptionally well in the K&Ns. Won a race the other night, so that was good for him. So that's probably filled him with a bit of confidence and boosted the way he's driving at the moment. The better you do, the more confidence you get, and the more you're able to sort of be at one with the car, I suppose. It's when you're having a bad run that you really tend to second guess yourself and the way you drive. So Danny's having a good run and he's got himself in a provisional pole. Kai Sloggett's just moved up right behind him on a 22.362 with Joshua Carroll Walden still third fastest on that 22.402. So Mirko still sitting behind him in fourth on a 22.534. So yeah, there's still quite a few guys to come, and not the least of which Josh Micklemore, and I believe Jason Martin has yet to record a time, Bernie.
Yeah, and the others that haven't come out as yet, and we'll go through them here, folks. We've got Riley Curtis. We saw him in pit lane ready to go. Dwayne Crease, he has not set a time, nor has Stephen Williams, Thomas Hines, or Jason Martin or Micklemore. So they will be coming out soon. The other one that hasn't set a time is the 54 of Matthew Clowett. So there's a few cars still out there. You can see Edward Foster now. He's coming out. He was about fourth fastest in practice. We'll see if the number 53 can put it together and see if he can get this car up into the first two rows tonight. Yeah,
no, I'm expecting it to be close. I really am. Sorry about that a minute ago. I was actually talking and forgot to hit the button on the mic. So I was wondering why there was such a big gap. So apologies to everybody for that one. Me having a bit of a seniors moment. It's going to be nice and close. We got 22.3, 22.3, 22.3, and then only a couple of tenths back to Joshua Carroll Walden on 22.4. It starts to spread out a little bit after that with Mirko on a 22.5 and Darren McKenzie at 22.5, Daniel Stevens at 22.5. So that's close in itself. But yeah, look, I'm expecting to see the race a little closer than what we're seeing in qualifying. So we'll see how it pans out. But I'm expecting some great racing as long as the guys can keep it in one piece on the track.
Yeah, well, Edward Foster there takes it to provisional pole with a 22.319. Going to expect the times to get faster now. We can see the 52, Thomas Hines, out on track at the moment, setting his first flying lap. He'll come across the start-finish line very shortly, folks. We'll see where he places his first lap. Generally, Steve, it looks like they're making the best out of that first lap, and they're not improving on the second. As Thomas Hines comes across now, what does he get? He moves up to sixth position with a 22.520.
Yeah, nice run there from Thomas. He probably won't be all that happy with that, but I think it's a good lap, depending on how the few runners that are left and how they go. Thomas may very well start from around about 6th or 7th, so that's not going to be a bad place to start around this place. Mirko and Thomas, I think you may see them battle a fair bit at the start. They'll jostle for position, I think, a bit, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll see what Stephen Williams can do now. He's setting his first flying lap now. In the background, I did see Josh Micklemore coming out, so we'll definitely jump to him shortly. Dwayne Crease is still not out, but at the moment, Stephen Williams setting his first flying lap here. We'll see if he can get it into the top 10 in the number 98 as he comes across the start-finish line now. He sets a time of 22.416, goes fifth fastest.
Yeah, those little bits of time really making all the difference in this. And on some tracks, we would probably see them a whole lot closer. around here, I think the guys are just simply trying to keep it together and get the best possible start that they can. So I'm watching Michelmore at the moment. He's, I think, on his first timed lap, Bernie.
Yeah, he's on the first flying lap now on the number 2, and we'll see how he goes. Jason Martin has also just come out on the track now. The big guns are starting to roll out as time ticks down, and we'll see what Josh Michelmore does as he comes across the start-finish line now. And as he crosses that, he is second fastest by the looks of it? No, fourth fastest, 22.385. So Edward Foster still is sitting on provisional pole. Jason Martin has aborted. It looks like he's got into the fence, and he's already struggling. But Matt Clowett, he's out there on his first flying lap, or about to start it here, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just looking at the difference in these times. They are fairly well bunched up at the front. That top 4 or 5. Edward's probably got the biggest gap there. He's got like 400ths over Danny G. Then Kai Sloggett's only like 100th of a second behind Danny. And then Josh Michelmore goes back about another 200ths. So Edward's got a nice little buffer there, but he's going to have to get a good start as well, because he's got Danny at this point. He's got Danny on his right, and Kai Sloggett's no slouch off the mark. So the start is going to be important. Well, getting a good start's one thing, maintaining it's another.
Well, exactly right, and I'll tell you what, there's a few drivers in trouble out there at the moment, folks. Riding with Dave Douglas, we'll see what sort of a time he sets as he comes across the start-finish line. He did a time of 22.443 on his first lap, which is good because the second lap he's got it all loose. 7th fastest for him. The cars that I was saying were in trouble, Matt Clowett, he hit the wall. He did not put a time in. Jason Martin, he had to abort his first lap after collecting the wall as well. He's now trying to get that time in and get himself out of jail. And as he's now crossing the line, we'll see if that time was a 23.771. It's only good enough for 17th position.
Yeah, it's very unusual. I'm actually watching Jason Martin's laps at the moment, and to see him qualifying that far back, it's going to be interesting to see what this second lap is, and he doesn't improve on it, Bernie. So Jason Martin has qualified at the rear of the field.
Yeah, so we normally see him qualify very, very well and lead from the front. But tonight's going to be a bit of a test for him. He's going to have to come through that field to get to the front before he's going to lead it. So the 21, he might be in a bit of trouble here tonight.
I think Jason's more than capable of coming through from the rear of the field. The problem is going to be, Bernie, avoiding the slides, not sliding it himself and keeping it off the wall. I mean, he's a hard charger. He'll come through from the back of the field, but he only needs to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it could actually end his night.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. We were saying earlier that can be the issue around these long races, is especially if you qualify poorly, getting involved in an incident early on can really affect you. But tell you what, pole position tonight, that's going to go to Edward Foster, and we'll take you through the grid now, folks, so you can see where your favourite driver will be starting tonight in the round 11 of the Richmond, what do we call on this, Richmond 130?
I believe that's what it is, Bernie.
Okay, so let's have a look at the grid, folks. So Edward Foster, he will start from pole position tonight. He's at a time 22.319. He's got Danny G on the outside of him with a time of 22.359. Out of the second row tonight is Kai Sloggett, and he's joined by Josh Michelmore in the number 2 on the outside of him. Going back to the third row tonight, we have Joshua Carroll Walden starting in 5th, and on the outside of him is Stephen Williams. Out of the fourth row is Dave Douglas in the number 10, starting on the inside with Riley Curtis on the outside of him. Going back to the fifth row, Dwayne Priest and Thomas Hinds out of 10th. Going to the sixth row tonight, we've got Mirko Dortnack and Darren McKenzie starting out of 12th on the outside. Out of 13th is Daniel Stevens. Norman Clark will start on the outside of him. Then moving back down the grid is Phil Otto and James Zeitz. Starting out of 17th tonight is Jason Martin and Matthew Clowett, and they were the two guys that did not post a time here, folks. So it's going to be interesting, Steve, to see how these guys go and how they're going to go through the field here, if they get through the field, and if they can actually convert this race into some sort of points tonight.
Yes, I think that's what. I think all eyes are going to be on what happens with both Matt Clowett and Jason Martin. Starting right at the back of the field, not only are they going to be racing each other, they're going to be trying to hold it together, keep it clean, keep it straight, and race everybody else ahead of them, which is the entire field. So, yeah, look, the only thing I think that's going to really make a difference to both of those guys, but most especially Jason Martin, who's, remember, our championship leader, and he's been like the man to beat, I believe. Well, if anybody wants to meet him, he's probably the man to meet, but being the man to beat in this championship, there's a lot of guys in front of him who are going to want to keep him there.
Yeah, definitely, and I think this is the first time we've seen Edward Foster get a pole position in this series, so well done to Edward in the number 53. He's got the MFR driver Danny G on the outside of him, so we'll see how they go. Sloggett for MFR is starting behind the 53, so we'll see what team tactics they can employ, and also keep an eye on Micklemore on the outside, folks. So the safety car's in, or pace car we should say, waiting for Edward to go. He does go here, folks, and we're underway for round 11 of the Thursday Night Thunder Series from Richmond. Nice clean start so far, and looks like Edward is taking to the lead.
Oh, look, that actually, I'm not trying not to sound biased here, I'm trying to be objective, but to see two ANZCAR admins off the front row, it just makes me pretty happy, because both of them deserve it. They both battled hard and they've worked hard on this series, and to see them get this sort of a start, it's just, yeah, it makes me pretty happy to see it. We've got Joshua Carroll Walden, who's moving up on Danny G there at the moment, so it's getting pretty close at the front there, and the challenges are already coming through.
Yeah, definitely the 35's looking good. He moves up ahead of Josh Micklemore in the number 2. Kai Sloggett dropping a little bit off this, but nothing to worry about at the moment. But it's going to be interesting here, Steve, to see which line these guys can run with, and which one's the fastest line. As we look behind Thomas Hinds here in 10th position, these boys were almost running 3 wide there, but already Matthew Clowett, he started from the back. He's up to 9th position. Jason Martin, he's struggling. He's still in 17th.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the impression that this track really just doesn't suit Jason for some reason. Not something we're used to seeing, but I've got a feeling that he's just struggling a little bit with the track itself, the degrees on the embankments, the slipperiness of it, the lack of grip. It's something he seems to really be struggling with at the back of the field, but at the same time, 130 laps around this place, he could end up at the front of the field purely through rate of attrition, Bernie.
Well, exactly right. One car's already in trouble out there. That's Darren McKenzie in the 08. It looks like he's had to bring that car through to the pits, or he may have started from the pits. He's down there in 18th, and at the moment he's 16 seconds off the lead. Doesn't sound like a lot, folks, but in the world of NASCAR it is a lifetime. But at the moment, looking at your race standings, as we come through on lap 6 here, we've got Edward Foster leading Danny G in second, Josh Micklemore sitting in third. At the moment, Joshua Carroll Walden, one of the movers tonight, keep an eye on him in fourth. Kai Sloggett, he drops back to 5th position. For the fans out there of the number 10, Dave Douglas is sitting in 6th. Thomas Hinds, 7th. 8th is Matthew Clowett. and he's moved up one more position, another person to keep an eye on. Stephen Williams 9th, and Riley Curtis, he rounds out our top 10.
Well, as far as Matt Clowett's concerned, Bernie, he had a technical issue and couldn't get out on track to qualify, so that's what's put him back. But as you said, he's making his way through the field. Edward Foster still holding that lead position over Danny G and Josh Micklemore in third, with Joshua Carroll Walden holding on to the back of Josh Micklemore's number 2 car. And then I think we've got, is that Darren McKenzie sitting in behind? Goodness me, I can't see who that is at the moment.
Darren McKenzie, he's sitting behind James Zeitz in the number 19.
Right, of course, pardon me. Just couldn't quite pick the car. And yeah, so they will circulate like this for a while. Somebody will have to take this thing by the scruff of the neck, this race. Danny G's looking for a way past Edward already. If Edward doesn't keep his mind on what he's doing and keep his line, I can see Danny G slipping down on the inside of him. And Josh Micklemore's keeping an eye on the pair of them, with Joshua Carroll Walden getting a little bit impatient. He wants to get on with this, and he's sitting right up on the, well, he was right up on the rear bumper of Josh Micklemore, but Josh has put a half a car length on him again.
Yeah, looking at the lap times around here, folks, the fastest lap out here tonight is a 22.500. That was Darren McKenzie in the 08. So we can expect him to come through the field, possibly. But looking at the times currently, Edward Foster, 23.131, so he's about 0.6 of a second down. But now we can see Micklemore having a crack at Danny G. He's decided he wants to move up a position. Josh Carroll Walden also having a crack on the 24. So I'd say at the moment there's a lot more pace that can be had in this race.
Yeah, look, Bernie, some guys thought the outside line was the way to go on Monday night in the trucks, but I can tell you now, the best place to pass here is around, is on the inside, probably through turns 2 and 3, maybe 4. But yeah, that's going to be the spot to overtake, and we're going to see a lot of that as we do right now. Josh Micklemore makes the move on the inside and gets in front of Edward Foster to lead this race.
Yeah, so Edward led the first 14. He's not going to roll over though, as he looks on the inside of the number 2, sees if he can do it. No, the 2 covers him off. So we'll see now with Micklemore out front, see what he can go with. But now Danny G, he's moving on the 53. He'll move up to second. So the 53 at the moment, they're not happy with the pace. They think they can go faster, and they're starting to make their moves.
Yeah, the MFR car there at the front of Danny G, number 24. He seemed to do that without too much difficulty, and now Joshua Carroll Walden is actually going to make the move on Edward Foster, and I think they're smelling a bit of blood in the water, and Joshua Carroll Walden is actually into Edward, who's managed to keep it off the walls. He's across the grass on the infield, and he will rejoin, but he's towards the back of the field, and he's got a lot of work to do, Bernie.
Yeah, and the caution's out, folks, because of that spin. We'll have a look at that. We're actually riding with Joshua Carroll Walden when that unfolded. But let's have a look at how it looked from the outside here, folks. So I'll jump back to the replay, and we'll just have a quick look at this. It was the slightest of touches, wasn't it? You could see Joshua Carroll Walden there. He did back out of it, but of course it was too late. But as we say, you know, it doesn't take much to get these cars sideways, because they're on pretty much on the limit. Edward Foster now, he will start from 8th position, and we'll see if the guys are going to come in for service. We can see Joshua Micklemore, he's a first in. Danny G follows, Kai Sloggett also in, Joshua Carroll Walden in, and so is the 54 of Cloett. Dave Douglas is in, Thomas Hinds is in. Edward, where's Edward? Edward's in. I think Mirko's the only one that did not come in.
Mirko didn't actually pit. this time around. He'll probably come in on the next lap. And right behind him, I'm trying to figure out who that is, also behind the pace car.
Yeah, that's Darren McKenzie. He's stayed out as well, but we'll see who's going to win the race off pit road. The 24, Danny G, he takes it to the 2. He beats him off pit road. And Edward Foster, he comes out in 10th position. He lost 2, but I tell you what a stop there for the number 24.
Oh, yeah, look, Danny blasted out of pit lane there. He must have been terribly close to actually doing it a little bit too early. And but he's come out in front of Josh Mickelmore. And that's going to actually, that'd be like a red rag to a bull, I'm afraid. So when we go green again, I would expect Josh to throw absolutely everything at Danny G.
Yeah, and for the folks that saw the race behind Josh Carroll Walden, between Kai Sloggett and the number 10 and the 54, they were 3 wide. Well, Kai Sloggett won that race off pit road by probably a nose over Dave Douglas in the number 10 in 6th. Matthew Cloat, or Cloat I should say, he will start out of 7th position.
Oh, mate, you ought to work for SBS. You're working out how these names are actually pronounced. I'm just going with it.
But I tell you what, Darren McKenzie, he did not come in. He's going to take control of this race, and he's going to be on, old tyres. So we'll see what he can do here. I guess he's hoping, he's got a car that can lead this race, I guess, or there's going to be another yellow soon.
I think he's banking on another yellow at some point. You'll probably see a bit of that tonight. They all know how slippery it is out there and how easy it is for little things to happen. That was the gentlest of touches from Joshua Carroll Walden. I don't think it's even scratched the paintwork on Edward Foster's car, Bertie.
No, it didn't. He just went across the grass, clipped the grass a little bit, kept it off the wall, looking as good as new, but the ego may not be. But here we go, Darren McKenzie in the 8, he goes, and the 24 of Danny G goes with him. He's not going to let him get away. Further back in the second row there, you can see Josh Mickelmore and the 35, Josh Carroll Walden. Right behind them, though, the 3-wide action continued, and that was between Kai Sloggett, Matthew Clout. He's moved up a spot. Dave Douglas now goes down a spot to the 52, possibly. He's stuck there on the high line, and looks like the 52, that's Thomas Hinds. He's starting to press forward.
Yeah, they've taken advantage of the fresh rubber and actually managed to pass Darren McKenzie on the outside, as Joshua Carroll Walden does the same, but he's going to have his hands full with Darren McKenzie is actually on the inside line, but no, it looks like he's just not carrying enough speed, and the number 54 follows him through as the rest of the field can see what's going on, and everybody who just went and put fresh rubber on the car are all about to pass Darren McKenzie, so that has not paid off for him, that gamble, Bernie.
Certainly hasn't. I was going to say to the viewers there, if you want to know what the difference between fresh rubber and old rubber looks like, well, check the number 08 at the moment as he's going backwards fast. The 52 now driving around the outside. Tell you what, if he had fresh rubber on that, there's no way they would be driving around the outside like they are. Edward Foster's the next one to have a look. He's also going to the high side. I guess all Darren can do is hold his line and hope that a yellow comes out before he ends up back where he started, which will be in 18th position.
Well, what I'm concerned about for Darren's sake is that with the way that he's being passed by everybody in the field at the moment, as Edward Foster makes the move around the outside, is that he's going to feel that he's under pressure to actually go and pit under green just to get fresh rubber on. And that's only going to hurt him even more. This is why before the race I actually said that every opportunity comes up to grab fresh rubber and fuel, they've got to dive in and do it around this place, because the rubber will make all the difference here. And Darren McKenzie is just illustrating that point. He's taken the gamble, and unfortunately it just hasn't paid off for him. And he's gone from first back to, what is he, about 15th or something now? 8th.
Yeah, and now he's got the 66. The other thing that his pit crew will be concerned about will be that he doesn't get a tap and gets turned like we saw Edward Foster there. It doesn't take much, and they'll be very concerned about that as well. But at the moment, James Jason Martin is now taking that position. But up front, Danny G, he's getting a bit of a gap on Josh Mickelmore. For the fans of the number 2, don't be concerned, a long way to go. And this is what Josh does. He just sits in there, he lets the laps tick down, he waits for the race to come to him, and then when it gets to the serious side, then he pounces.
Oh, look, Dave Douglas is now taking advantage of that. He's got cars all over him. Riley Curtis is closing in on him with Stephen Williams as well. He's just a sitting duck out there at the moment, Bernie. So, I mean, he's going to end up at the back of the pack in about another lap and a half, 2 laps. So, yeah, he won't make that mistake again, I can tell you.
No, he won't. And I guess all he can hope for now is another yellow, and the other thing they want to hope for is it's not him that brings that yellow out. But meanwhile, up front, folks, Joshua Carroll-Walden now in the 35, he's pressing on with the race as we see Cloet just brush the wall there and keeps on moving. But I tell you what, the 35's looking good tonight, Steve.
Oh yeah, look, there's a lot of potential in a lot of the cars that are out there tonight. They're all running fairly strong. It's just a matter of how they can position themselves on the track and how things work out. What are we on, lap 32? I think Darren McKenzie's biggest issue is going to be if he goes a lap down and there's a caution, the only thing he can hope for out of it is that he gets the lucky dog, because at the moment, if this stays green for quite a while, he's going to have a problem, because he's going to be the only one out there that's really going to suffer on tyres. He's already suffering because of a lack of speed. As Mirko Doubtnack actually takes him on the inside, he tries to, yeah, he's actually fighting it off, but Mirko takes that inside line, gets a bit of momentum, and he actually takes the spot away. So Darren McKenzie drops back another spot, but he's fighting back. He's still pulling up alongside Mirko, but I don't think he's going to be able to really challenge him, Bernie.
No, I don't think so. All he can do is hang on and hope for a yellow. But as you were saying, if he has to pit under green, we saw that a couple of weeks back, the number 10, he went and pitted under green, and that was Dave Douglas. He was the only one that did it because a yellow came out. He dropped 2 laps. He got absolutely buried in that strategy. He did not come back from that. That was pretty much, as far as a good position go, the end of his night. So Darren McKenzie at the moment, folks, he's hoping for a safety car, because if he pits under green, that's going to be the end of his night.
Yeah, pretty much. As far as being a competitive car out there is concerned, that'll be it. Just a shout out and a good day to everybody who's actually in the live chat for the stream. Yeah, good day to you guys. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Good to see your comments and your feedback in there, so keep it up and let us know how we're doing here tonight. And yes, it is good to be back after a week off last week. I wasn't very well, actually. I'm a bit of an old fart. I had a touch of the arthritis, but also had a few other things, and just sort of kept me away. I just really wasn't up to it and couldn't be very enthusiastic. But car 777 at the moment, it's Dwayne Priest, I believe, and he's got his eyes on Darren McKenzie as well. But Darren seems to be holding me out a little bit as Dwayne actually gets a bit closer, and then Darren pulls it away again. So that's a battle that we need to keep our eyes on. If somebody gets a little bit loose there, Bernie.
Yeah, there was Phil Otto there, just getting it a bit loose. He's gathered it up. He's down on the apron. Now he brings it back up on circuit, and he'll pick up speed. So he drops to the back, but close call there for Phil Otto in the number 1.
Yeah, poor old Phil, but he's managed to keep it off the fence. That's what the couple of guys that have gotten loose or taken a little bit of a nudge, they've actually managed to keep it off the outside and the inside walls and done no damage to the car. So that's a big plus around this place, because quite a few of the guys on Monday night in the trucks, when they lost it into the wall, and that just affected everything. We had 3 cars in the pits at the same time at one point, when a couple of the other guys actually nosed it into the wall and things like that. So these guys have managed to avoid this tonight, which is very lucky for them, because if they nose that into the wall at speed, they'll know about it.
Oh, they certainly will. And I'll tell you what, while you were talking about that, Steve, the number 2 came up beside the 24 of Danny G, and they ran for about a lap side by side. Josh could not take that position in the end, so he's dropped back into second. He's decided it's not worth burning his tyres up, and he'll pace himself out. But Matthew Clote here in the 54, he did not set a time in qualifying, folks, due to technical issues, but he is up to third and making a move for second now. The other car, Kai Sloggett, back in fifth, got a bit loose there coming off turn, I think it was turn 3, and gathered it up and kept that car off the wall as well.
Yeah, look, just watching Matt Clote there, I saw him really giving it to it. He's getting a little bit excited out there, and I could have sworn, maybe it was just my imagination, but I could have sworn that he was really powering that vehicle, and I could have sworn it started to wiggle a little bit. So he must have caught it without it getting out of shape completely. But he's all over the back of Josh Micklemore at the moment, who's trying to hold him off while also trying to make an indent on the gap between himself and Danny G up the front. We've got Joshua Carroll Walden sitting behind Matt Clote in fourth position. And then we've got Kai Sloggett, Thomas Hinge in fifth. Jason Martin's made his way up to seventh position, I believe. Edward Foster's still in eighth position. And these cars have no damage. So everybody's still in this. Everybody's in great shape. We're only 45 laps into this. So there's a lot of racing yet to go. And the guys will actually hopefully keep it this way. And we'll see some great fast green flag racing.
We certainly will, and we can see there Matthew Clote, he's dropped back to fourth position. He got into the side there of Josh Micklemore, started to turn him, backed off, lost his momentum. Joshua Carroll Walden pounced, took that position. Now Matthew Clote's back up to speed, he wants it back.
Oh yeah, it's a dogfight at the front, Bernie. And the crazy part is, they're all also having to be very careful, and they're treating it very, very gently, so that they don't suffer from the slipperiness out on this track and the lack of grip. Meanwhile, Danny G is pulling a big gap over Josh Micklemore in second, and he's got Joshua Carroll Walden all over the back of him, and then there's a slight gap back to the next couple. So Danny G's actually sitting in a really good position at the moment, because Josh Micklemore's driving defensively to try and hold that position from Joshua Carroll Walden.
Yeah, and then down in sixth position, folks, is Jason Martin, our series leader. He started from the back. He's now into sixth position. Just got past Thomas Hinge there. Slowly but surely, the 21 is moving up to the front here. And I tell you what, if Jason can get out front, it's going to be interesting to see. But at the moment, he's got a very angry pack of drivers ahead of him that he's going to have to contend with. And I tell you what, they're not just going to step aside and open the door for him.
No, absolutely not. They're all in this, and it's like, you know, do or die stuff out there. But we've gone 51 laps without, with only one pace car. That's pretty good stuff. These guys have really got it together out there. This is a great lesson in how to drive really quick on a slippery track while being gentle. That's just exactly what they're doing.
Exactly right, and this is where you see the real skill of this style of racing come out. When you see drivers, they're driving to the limit, they're not burning up their tyres, and they're not going beyond that limit while they race hard, and it's good to see. But we can see now Jason Martin, he's just backed it off a little bit. He was coming up on top of Matthew Clote there, and Kai Sloggett got very close together, and you could see Jason just lifting, thinking, okay, well, I just need a bit of space between these two.
Yeah, I think he might have seen a possibility of them coming together, so he's lifted to avoid getting caught up in any messes that might have occurred out of that. But it didn't eventuate, and he's still keeping an eye on these two. He's keeping a gap there so that he's got room to move or avoid an accident, because I think Jason might actually have it in his mind that those two are going to come together at some point. And it's been a while that they've been out on those tyres on a slippery track, so he may actually be right, Bernie.
Yeah, and have a look at Kai's front of his car. He seems to be running a lot of tape on the front of that. I'll get your opinion on that, Steve.
I can't actually tell from here, but I don't know what the tape is actually set to. I'm trying to see the front of his car at the moment, Bernie, to give you an opinion.
Yeah, it looks like all the MFR boys are carrying the same amount of tape. It looks like, I'm not an expert on it either, but probably a quarter of the grill is taped up.
I think it's just the colour of the tape, Bernie, makes it look worse.
Okay.
Keeping in mind that this is a fixed setup situation, I just think it's just the colour of the tape on the way they've got the car painted up, and they've gone with yellow tape on the front of it for some reason.
Yeah, because fixed setup, they'd all be running the same amount of tape. So there you go, folks. I thought I was onto something there, but the only thing I was onto is nothing. But meanwhile, let's go through your top 10 as they stand on lap 57. Danny G is still leading Joshua Micklemore here, but only just because Josh is pacing with him. They're getting quite a bit of a gap back to third now to Kai Sloggett. Kai Sloggett, he's coming under attack from Joshua Carroll-Walden, and Jason Martin is now also behind them in fifth position. Matthew Cloak also, we've got the 5 around. That's Kai Sloggett.
Yeah, he got a touch up from Joshua Carroll-Walden, so don't know whether they'll bring out the pace car because he's not on track.
Yeah, we'll go back and have a look at that in the replay. It doesn't look like it will because he didn't come to a stop. We'll just have a look at this.
What it is going to do, Bernie, is it's going to hurt him. He's now pitted that vehicle under green.
Yeah, well, that's we've spoken about the problem with that, haven't we? And he's come down. He's actually come down onto Joshua Carroll-Walden there because Joshua was already upside of him, and they just come together there.
Right, okay, yeah, all right, I can see that now. Yeah, all I saw was Joshua Carroll-Walden into him and him starting to turn. I missed the initial touch-up, so I missed the Kai actually moved into him, which was probably exactly what Jason Martin has been expecting for the last few laps.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's why he was sitting there just pacing himself through, and he's now up to fourth position. These two out front, though, they still dice with each other, getting that gap going. And I'll tell you what, the way the race is going here, folks, it's going to be, touch wood, a quick one. We've only had one safety car here for those joining us, and we've been under green now for, what, at least the last 50 laps, I'd say. We're going to come under green pit stop soon. We've just seen Kai Sloggett, he's come in under green, and we'll see if he gets buried, if a safety car comes out, or pace car. The other car out there in trouble is Darren McKenzie in the 08. He did not come in for tyres on the first stop. He led the field away. He's now sitting down in 16th, just willing this car to continue going with these tyres to try to get it to a time he can bring that in. But there's another car going through pit road at the moment, Steve.
Okay, yeah, all right. Who have we got in pit road at the moment, mate? I'm just trying to take a look at that, actually. I can't actually see them on the camera work that I've got here. Yeah,
it's Daniel Stevens. He's got a bent front right fender there. They're throwing more tyres on it. He will come back out. For those wanting to know how much damage it takes under a pit stop, Kai Sloggett, he dropped 2 laps in his pit stop. Daniel Stevens now, he's just coming up to speed, and he's dropped a lap. Potentially he might, yeah, he's going to be safe on 1 lap down.
Yeah, well, that gives Darren McKenzie a bit of breathing space because he's really suffering on tyres out there, and he's just praying for something to go wrong somewhere so that he can pit under caution, not green. But I'd be interested to know about the what might have happened with Daniel Stevens with a bit of damage on the front fender. He might have touched the wall up at some point while all that was going on with Kai Sloggett.
Definitely looks like a heavy wall touch if you bring it up and have a look at it. It's doesn't look like he's had a light graze, that's for sure. He's got a fair bit of damage there on that car at the moment. But at the moment, though, Jason Martin, he's up to third, right behind Josh Mickelmore. I wonder if he's going to tap him and wave and go, remember me, or is that too cliche?
A little bit of a cliche now, I think, mate, actually, yeah.
People probably don't even know what that's from.
Yeah, it's just another Days of Thunder reference, I'm afraid, for those that aren't aware. You need to watch Days of Thunder. If you're watching NASCAR racing and you're listening to us ramble on, why have you never seen Days of Thunder? That's my question.
Oh, exactly right. I loved that movie. I've watched it once, I loved it, haven't watched it again. I don't think it's one of those movies that you only watch once and you remember all the good bits. If I watched it now, I may not enjoy it quite so much.
No, I've got a few movies like that, actually, but yeah, something like that is very difficult to go, I'm just going to watch the really good bits.
Yeah, well, that's it. So we're riding with Jason Martin now in third. He's just sitting there behind Josh Mickelmore. Have a look, Steve. Josh Mickelmore now has rolled off Danny G as Jason Martin's now climbing all over the back of him. I have a feeling he's watching his mirrors a little bit. You can see this car coming and he's just wondering where he needs to position himself here.
Well, what I can see actually is damage on the front end of Jason Martin's car, so I don't know where he's picked that up. But you're dead right, Daniel Stevens, there is very noticeable front fender damage on the right-hand side of that vehicle. So that, with the scrape along the side, I think you're bang on, Bernie. He's actually rubbed the wall there somewhere.
Yeah, Norman Clark's now, he's stopped under green. He's dropped a lap now. So the guys that have stopped, Daniel Stevens in the 66, 1 lap down. Riley Curtis in the 93, 1 lap down. Norman Clark in the 16, he's gone 2 laps down. And Kai Sloggett in the 5 has also gone 2 laps down. So they're dropping between 1 to 2 laps here, depending on where the leaders are, no doubt, on the circuit. But at the moment, we can see Josh Mickelmore has come into the pits. He's decided it's time. Jason Martin stayed out, Danny G stayed out, Matthew Cloak stayed out. So it's going to be interesting to see what these guys do now.
Oh, yeah, look, I'm not going to worry too much about the 1 lap down, 1 lap down on some of these guys, because they're pitting under green. This will sort itself out as the race goes on, and the more guys that are forced to pit under green, the more these other guys will pick up another lap. So they'll sort that out over the course of the race. And if there is another caution, then of course one of these guys is going to be a lucky dog, because they're going to pull a lap back and get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, and the others all won't be so lucky, and we'll see how they go. But I guess now that Josh Mickelmore has pitted, he'll be out there on fresh tyres. We'll see where he is. He's just coming now, fighting it out with the 66 of Daniel Stevens. You'll want to clear him, because he's now going to be wanting to put in some quick laps, which no doubt both of these guys will be doing. But the longer the leaders stay out, the more it's going to play in Mickelmore's hands here. You can see now Danny G stays out. Yeah, I was about to say that. Joshua Carroll-Walden also reacts. He comes into the pits. So the tide's starting to turn, isn't it? When you start seeing more and more of these fast guys coming in the pits, you almost have to come in, don't you, to cover them off?
Oh, absolutely. And this is what I mean. The 1 and 2 laps down, I don't think it's going to mean anything. If any of these guys manage to drop 5 laps down, they are in trouble, because they won't get that back, especially if we have long green flag periods. 1 or 2 laps can even itself out in the general circulation of things, as everybody else has to pit under green. If we get a caution shortly, anybody who has not pitted so far since the last caution period will be in a prime spot, because they'll get to pit under caution, whereas the guys who have just pitted under green will stay out, but they're going to stay a lap or 2 down. So it's going to be interesting. We've got what have we got, about 60-something laps left, so it's going to be very, very easy, very interesting to see what happens, Bernie.
It certainly is. You can see now the number 2 there, he was the first to pit. over the 21, and he's probably gained about 5-6 car lengths on stopping first there, and Jason Martin is now starting to close back up. So you can see that undercut did work. Matthew Clout, he's still staying out. Is he coming in? No, he's staying out. But Danny G, he has come in and taken his service. He's down there in 13th, where Micklemore's up in 10th. So that's what we were saying earlier about the longer you stay out, the bigger the damage potentially can be.
Yeah, pretty much, because you've got, if you're pitting under green and you've been overrunning your tyres beyond their useful life, then you're already dropping a couple of spots back. Then you pit under green and you're gonna drop a lap. So yeah, look, it's a gamble in this situation, because you don't know. Everybody goes out there, everybody runs the way they need to run, and everybody prays for a caution period right at the moment when they can feel that the tyres are not really doing their job anymore. But if there's no caution, you've got no choice but to push on as long as possible and keep hoping for it, and then you're going to have to pit under green anyway. And that's exactly what we're seeing here, because the guys they're being careful, but they're being quick. And now they're pitting under green. We're starting to see, well, more than half the field are a lap down now, Bernie. But we've only got one person that's 2 laps down, which is Kai Sloggett, after he had to pit before, after that touch-up with that incident with Joshua Carroll-Walden.
Yeah, and I'd say he lost that. Oh, as we see Josh Micklemore on the back of Jason Martin there, just missed the back of him. As now they're coming up on the back of Hins. They're going to split him, as they do. The poor 52 in the middle, as the number 2 and 21 go side by side. They've been doing that a bit tonight. They're on fresh tyres. The 52 is not, and they're coming up through the field. They'll unlap themselves pretty quickly here. But yeah, as I was saying, Kai Sloggett, I think he went down that extra lap more because of the time it took him to get that car down pit road, and because he lost all that speed. But I'll tell you what, look at this 3-wide action between the 2, the 21, and any takers that stand in their way.
Look, they were 3 wide there with Phil Otto just a couple of corners ago. So they are going at it, these two, because there's a championship on the line. And they both want to get across the line ahead of the other guy in this one, because the points are going to be very important from this round. Phil Otto plugging away there. He's not doing such a bad job, old Phil, but he's back in 11th, but there's still quite a bit of racing to go. And if the others in front of him start to fall over a couple of times, he could very well see himself in a good spot.
Yeah, definitely. He's sitting down there in 11th at the moment, as we see now Martin and Micklemore goes back through. The guys that have not pitted at the moment, folks, is the 54, Matthew Clout. He's leading this lap. I'd say he's trying to go deep, hoping a pace car will come out. Thomas Inns in the 52 also has not stopped. Edward Foster's still going around there in 3rd position. Then we've got Dave Douglas in 4th, Mirko Dortnack 5th, 6th is James Zite, 7th is the 08 of Darren McKenzie. Then we start looking at the ones that have stopped. We've got Jason Martin 7th, as Darren McKenzie's dropping a long way back, as he just gets taken by Martin and Micklemore in the space of 1 corner. So that moves him back to 9th. 10th is Danny G, and he was our leader, so he's a little bit off there, but he'll catch him again.
Well, Darren McKenzie's still holding down to 9th on what I've got here on the screen. So considering the struggle he had earlier when he didn't pit at the same time as everybody else, he's still sitting 9th, and he's holding that spot inside the top 10. So that's not too bad, but Danny G's going to want that spot off him. He's going to want to move up through the field. And I don't know how long ago it was that Darren McKenzie actually pitted and grabbed fresh rubber. So that could be also why he's dropped back a little bit further.
Yeah, it could be. They're just now rounding up Norman Clark. That's Jason Martin, Josh Micklemore. And having a look further up at the moment, looking at their lap times, they're about 17 seconds off the lead. Looking at their lap times, what's happened to Clout here? He's dropped behind him, so something's happened to Clout there. He hasn't pitted. He's must have a lose or something.
No, I think it's his tyres, mate. I think everybody else has just got better rubber and better speed, and he's just struggling to remain competitive because I don't think he's pitted.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, he's even if he wanted to pit at the moment, he wouldn't have been able to. He had the 66 on the inside of him there. Now the 777's coming in. We'll see if he tries to get that car to the low line to come into the pits, but he's dropping like a rock. So what I was saying is our leader, Thomas Hinds, who hasn't stopped, 24.165 was his time last time through. Jason Martin, Josh Mickelmore, 23.203. So they're gaining about a second a lap at the moment.
Well, it looks like Thomas Hinds is being passed easily by the rest of the field, but in actual fact, all these guys are doing is trying to unlap themselves. Kai Sloggett's managed to pull a lap back, and he's only one lap down now, along with Norman Clark, Bill Otto, Darren McKenzie, Stephen Williams, and Riley Curtis. Daniel Stevens was a lap down, and he's now unlapped himself, and he's back on the lead lap in 11th position, with Joshua Carroll Walden in 10th ahead of him. Danny G is in 9th, and I'm looking for Darren McKenzie, who's dropped all the way back to 17th, so he must be in the pit.
I'll have a look and see if we can find him, Darren McKenzie. No, he's not in the pits. He might have... no, he hasn't stopped, so I'm not sure what's going on with him. The other one is 2 laps down now, so he must have pitted. The other one 2 laps down is Dwayne Priest in the 777, so I'd say that was probably due to his stop. So they're starting to come through, but we've still got probably the top 3 or 4 that have not taken to pit road yet.
Well, Dwayne Priest, from what I'm seeing, has now pulled a lap back, and he's only 1 lap down. Darren McKenzie, with any luck for him, will actually manage to do the same. With around 36 laps remaining, we'd still possibly get another caution period, but we've only had one early on, and it's been green flag ever since. So that's really jostled the field up a bit as Thomas Hinds continues to lead this race over Matt Clowett by about a half a second. And Matt, I think he might still be... Is he struggling on old rubber? I can't remember seeing him pit.
No, Matt Clowett hasn't pitted. He's on old rubber as well. I'm just wondering, I don't know what the range of these cars are, but do you think they may think they can get home if it stays green on what they've got and hopefully make that an advantage? But I'll tell you what, they're 11 seconds up the road, 9 seconds up the road from Jason Martin, 33 laps to go. Jason's closing down on these guys by around about 8/10 of a lap. So I don't think it would work out for him somehow.
Well, Matt Cloud's now been passed by Darren McKenzie, and he's about to be passed by Riley Curtis, as Darren McKenzie is on a little bit of a charge to try and unlap himself. He's actually now come back up onto the back of Thomas Hinds, although being 2 laps down, he's not racing him for position. So Thomas is not too worried there. His spotter would have told him that that car was a lap down, and Darren's doing all right. He's probably next time around it will register he's now only a lap down, because he's just actually passed Thomas Hinds, who's the race leader. So he should have actually pulled a lap back.
Yeah, he has. He's back down 1 lap now, but Matthew Clowett there just brushed the wall on the start-finish straight, main straight there, coming off turn 4. Now we can see Riley Curtis. He's trying to get his lap back on Thomas Hinds, so he goes on the inside. Thomas will let him through without fighting it, so the 93 now gets his lap back as well.
31 laps to go. I think we just clicked over 100 laps as Thomas Hinds crosses the line. So with 30 laps to go, if Matt Clowett thinks he can hang on for another 30 laps off a one-stopper, I'd be very surprised if he's right about that. Yeah,
I would be too. And Josh Mickelmore now, he's rolled right out of it. He was chasing with Jason Martin now, but he's dropped a good 4 seconds down the track from Jason, so I'm not sure what's happened to the number 2. But he's definitely not going with Jason. But this is one thing the 21's good at, isn't it? And Jason is, if he's happy with the car, he gets into this rhythm and he can just pound out these laps, lap after lap, and he seems to do it while looking after his tyres, and I reckon he's the best one out there in this series that can do that.
He just chips away at it. Jason knows what it takes to win. I mean, he's been doing it for most of the season, so yeah, he's won at least half the races, and some of them quite easily and been very dominant. I think he'd be enjoying himself out there with having to work for this one. And to get the points that he's going to get. So he knows what it's about, and he knows how many laps are left, and he'll just keep chipping away at it. He's in a luxurious position at the moment where all he's got to do is finish well. He's just got to finish and finish well. That's it. He doesn't have to win. He doesn't have to get on the podium. He's just got to pick up enough points to keep that little buffer there in first place in the championship. So it's no good him stressing about it, and he's not going to work hard. He's not going to drive the car like an idiot, because he knows he doesn't need to, Bernie.
Well, exactly right. Well, he's now on the podium. He's 2.7 seconds down from Hinds, who has not stopped. Just ahead of him is Matthew Clout. He also has not stopped. So Jason's about to round him up. His lap times now, he's still 0.8 of a lap faster. 24 laps to go here for the folks just joining us. We've only had one safety car period here tonight. Very, very fast-paced race. No retirements, and the boys are really showing what it is like to turn on a good race here at Richmond.
Oh, absolutely. They're turning on a beauty tonight. We've had one pace car period, one caution. So, yeah, look, it's been some fantastic racing. And the different strategies as Darren McKenzie decides to make a pass on Dwayne Priest. But Dwayne's not happy with that. He's going to fight back and try and take him on the inside. But a quick good day out to somebody who's sitting in the live chat on the stream at the moment. Mr. Bailey Hall, how are you? Good to have you there with us. One of the RRTV commentators for some of the other categories. Good to see him sitting in there. And he's made the comment that it's going to be a good end of the race. I think he's spot on, Bernie.
Yeah, and Fernando Alves is also really happy with the race at the moment and enjoying it. And here we go for the lead as Jason Martin takes the 52 on the inside here to take the lead. He does it quite easily because Thomas must be down to rims by now. There mustn't be any rubber left on that thing, and he's just trying to hang on at the moment.
Yeah, look, Matt Clout, I've got no idea what he's running on, because I don't recall seeing him pit, and if he did, I missed it completely. So he's sitting in third place at the moment, but he's nearly 2 seconds, I think, behind the leader, or the front two at least, which is now just blown out to 3 seconds. So, yeah, if he can hang on for another 20 laps, then he's a miracle worker.
Well, as you say that, he got loose again, and he's bringing that car in. So, and they're into the side there of Edward Foster. That was a number 2, and that almost brought out a yellow as they all start queuing up. And I'll tell you what, Clout was coming in. He saw that. He dived straight back out on the track again. Oh,
nice catch, and yeah, a little bit of a help from a double bounce off the side from Josh Micklemore, but great work by Edward Foster to hold that one. That could have been an absolute disaster there, a real race finisher, but he's held onto it, and they're in a fairly good pack here at the moment. We've got Danny G, Edward Foster, Daniel Stevens is in there, Josh Micklemore, Joshua Carroll Walden, and I'm seeing Matthew Clout, and if he's just come out with fresh rubber, he's going to be very, very dangerous for this last 18, 17 laps. If he's the only one out there with brand new fresh rubber, he should have some great speed.
Yeah, well, what was happening was he got a bit loose. He came down onto the apron there to take the pit to the pits. He actually saw them coming together in front of him, and they pit crew must have told him to not come in because he went straight back out on the track again. So he aborted that pit stop when he saw that contact. But the guys that have not pitted yet, folks, is Thomas Hinds. We said he has not made his stop. Dave Douglas, 6th position in the number 10, also has not stopped, nor has Edward Foster in the 53 or Matthew Clout in the 54. As Matthew Clout's into the wall, And, oh, good night, Irene. He's going to bring that in, but it's going to stay green because he did not stop. But that's what happens if you roll the dice a bit too long.
Yeah, it looks like that's exactly what's happened. So, yeah, poor old Matt Clout, he's rolled the dice and he missed out, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll have a look at this, and he's been brushing the wall a few laps. He's been getting a bit loose here. Just see how that... Oh, he actually got a touch-up. That's what he got from the 08. Darren McKenzie got into the back of him, and he found the wall.
I was just going to say that. It looks like Darren McKenzie's giving him a push.
Yeah, he has. He's run up on the back of him and just turned him. So 13 laps to go here, folks. So your top 10 as they stand, we have Jason Martin leading over Thomas Hinds, 5.7 seconds down now. Right behind him is Danny G, and these are the guys that have pitted. You can see that on the screen at the moment. Fourth is Josh Mickelmore, fifth Joshua Carroll Walden, Dave Douglas sixth, seventh Edward Foster, eighth Mirko Dortmack, ninth Stephen Williams, and rounding out your top 10 is Daniel Stevens.
Well, there doesn't appear to be a whole lot of activity in that pit for Matt Clowett. Yeah, I can't understand. I'd have been just throwing rubber on and getting out and just finishing and picking up what points I could. But yeah, I don't know whether he's decided to park it and he's out having a bit of a moan in the pit, the team manager's ear. I'm not quite sure what's happening there, but the car doesn't seem to be moving anywhere, Bernie.
No, it's there, isn't it? It's sitting there. It's not moving at all. We just saw it on the cameras. As now we can see Mickelmore going after Hinds here, and the 52, it's going to drop down another position. Just doesn't have the tyres, if anything, left on that thing.
Matt Clowett's climbed out of the vehicle now. They're putting it in the transporter, Bernie.
That's a shame. It's 10 laps to go now, and that's our first retirement there, folks. I was actually surprised they did wheel it behind the wall. It did not seem to be a very big hit, but then again, you know, who knows what has happened underneath the fenders of that car.
Well, that's right. There could be a reason for it. That impact might have caused a problem, and they've just simply decided that there's not enough time to sort it out and get him back out on track, and they've just simply canned it. Time to turn it off.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jason Martin, folks, he's the biggest mover tonight, up 16 positions. Had trouble in qualifying, had to start from the rear in 17th. He's worked his way up through the field, and he's now leading this race once more. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what the boys need to do, but they're going to have to work out something, because at the moment he's just, even coming from the back of the field, he's now going to take potentially another round win here and extend his lead.
Well, he's now put himself into a position to, from dead motherless last, he's now looking like he's going to win the thing. And that's what we talked about before, was the way he just chips away at it without any real urgency. It's not a high-pressure situation. Civilization's not going to end and the sky won't fall. So he chipped away at it, and look where he's going to finish.
Oh, exactly right. And, you know, he'll extend that lead. He'll be happy again. There'll be a lot of drivers that won't be happy, but it doesn't really matter. As long as the winner's happy, we're all happy. Well, not all of us. Anyway, I'm crapping on here.
No, you're bang on, actually. But the fact is, he's going to be really happy with that, because he worked hard for this tonight. He came from the back of the field. He had to beat every other car on the track, not just 2 or 3 or 4 that started at the front of the pack. He had to beat every single car, and that's what he's managed to do. So, yeah, at the risk of sounding a little bit like Mark Scape sucking up to Jamie Whincup or something like that in the V8, I think he's just done a fantastic job tonight, and that just shows why he's leading the championship.
Well, exactly right, and it shows also the guys had an opportunity there to reduce that lead, but they didn't have anything enough to actually challenge him to a great degree. But at the moment, he's got a lead of 7.8 seconds, and he once again shows why he's leading this championship, folks. A real talent. Danny G in the 24, he's having an awesome race, not an awful race. He started second. He's sitting in second at the moment. He's got Riley Curtis behind him, but don't worry, that is not for position. Third is Josh Micklemore. Then fourth is Joshua Carroll Walden, and your top five is Thomas Hinds. So one retirement, one safety car here, 2 laps to go. It's been one heck of a race.
Look, I'm happy for Thomas. He's had an absolutely beautiful run lately. He won at Road America, and then I think he got on the podium last week, and he'll be on top 5 again this week. So he's getting a good run going, and he's getting a good fistful of points towards the end of this championship with only 3 rounds to go.
Yeah, and he's the first of the guys that did not stop. As we see now, Jason Martin, he takes the win here at Richmond, and as he often does, he goes across the line now to take the win. We'll no doubt see him go into drift mode here. But yeah, Thomas Hinds, the first of the guys that did not stop last time through. He's done a huge effort on those tyres. He must have run about 100 laps without pitting that car. So congratulations to him. 5th. Dave Douglas, 6th position. He also did not stop and ran through. Edward Foster, another one that did not stop. He came back in 8th position, and a good effort there. He was, of course, starting from pole tonight, coming home in 8th. So not a bad effort there for Edward. As
Jason Martin does the winner's burnout, something he's done about 6 times now so far this season.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We'll have to get the stats out for you next round, folks. But absolutely dominant. He's going to extend to that lead now, and Josh Micklemore back in the 3rd position, so he's up there. But we'll go through the full results here now, folks, before we go to interviews, so you can see where your favourite driver finished here tonight. So Jason Martin, biggest mover award, up 16 positions, come from 17th to take the win here tonight at Richmond. The second is the 24 of Danny G. Josh Micklemore, he brings the number 2 home in 3rd, with Joshua Carroll Walden finishing in 4th. 52 of Thomas Hinds, he comes home in 5th, with Dave Douglas in the number 10, 6th. 7th was Stephen Williams, followed by Edward Foster in 8th. 9th was Mirko Dortnack. 10th, Daniel Stevens in the 66. The 08 of Darren McKenzie, he came from the back as well, and he finishes in 11th. Riley Curtis in 12th position. The 777 of Dwayne Priest finishes in 13th. 14th is Kai Sloggett. 15th is Norman Clark. 16th, James Zeitz. And then Phil Lotto, he comes home in 17th. And Matthew Clowett in the 54, our only retirement, and classified in 18th position.
What a fantastic finish. All but one car finished the race. And the furthest down that anybody went was 2 laps. We had 2 guys 2 laps down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys only 1 lap down, with nearly half the field on the lead lap. So, and only 1 retirement, and that was just an unfortunate coming together with only 8 laps to go or something. So yeah, look, a very, very entertaining race, and a great finish ratio for the field. So only 1 guy not finishing. So that's fantastic stuff, Bernie.
Certainly is, and we're going to go straight to our winner now here, folks. That's Jason Martin. Bring him down. We'll have a chat with him, and we'll continue down the grid as we go here. So bring Jason in. Did you want to start the interview, or do you want me to start, Steve?
Yeah, you can start this one off, Bernie.
Hi, Jason. Welcome to the RRTV commentary box, mate. First of all, congratulations on taking the win, but also the biggest mover award coming from the back of the field there, and to take that win tonight. What an awesome drive. At the start of this race, what were you thinking? Did you think you'd be able to take the win here tonight?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, at the start I was just taking it pretty easy, saving some tyres and trying to pick up 1 spot at a time, and then worked my way up the field and then started to push a bit harder.
So what happened? We saw in qualifying you were having a lot of trouble. Looked like you got into the wall on your runs. What exactly was going wrong for you during qualifying tonight?
Yeah, if you pushed it a little bit too hard on exit, it would get really loose, and that's what was happening to me, just trying to push for that fast lap.
Okay, and as far as the track goes and tyre wear goes, how did the Xfinity car go with tyres? Because I guess the reason I ask you this is because you're normally the best on tyres. So if you're suffering, then everyone's suffering.
Yeah, my tyres weren't too bad wear, but it just got so loose on exit, so that was a tricky part, controlling that.
Okay, well, I'm going to hand you over to Steve now and see if he's got any more questions for you.
Good day, Jason, and congratulations, mate. A fantastic drive. I think that's probably the best I've seen you drive all season, because you had to, as I said to Bernie when you crossed the line, you didn't just have to beat 4 or 5 guys at the front of the field. You had to beat every car in the field to get there, and that was just excellent stuff. Give us an idea of a couple of times that you seem to be hanging back, just waiting to see what was happening with a couple of the guys in front of you. The drive through the field, was it a bit of a nerve-wracking experience?
Yeah, it sure was, because like I said, it gets real loose on exit if you push it, so it was pretty nerve-wracking when you're getting close to guys and you're pushing it on the limit. So yeah, it was pretty intense race, but it was good fun.
It must have been a little bit intense and a bit nerve-wracking, watching some of the other guys getting a little bit too close to one another as well. We noticed it was Kai Sloggett and somebody else there at one point. You seemed to move up on the back of them, then all of a sudden lift your foot, and you just seemed to hold back about 1.5 to 2 car lengths just to see what they were going to do, because it looked like they might have been going to come together. And it took them a couple of laps, but in the end, that's pretty much what did happen.
Yep, I could see that was coming from a mile away, so I just gave them a bit of space so that I didn't get involved. Yeah,
well, that was probably the best thing to do. And it was the smart thing to do, because it worked out that way, and we figured that's what you were doing. Bernie actually made the comment at one point, and Jason just dropped back, and it looks like he lifted his foot. And we figured that was exactly the reason why. So you would have probably seen that a few times. I mean, it looks different from out here, but when you're looking through the windscreen of the car and you see just how close and the way guys are driving, it must have been more than a couple of times that you've wanted to do that tonight, actually.
Yeah, you got to try and predict what's happening, because if you leave it until it happens, you're going to get involved in it. So you got to always look ahead and try and predict what's going to happen.
Well, that's exactly right. And you did that fairly well tonight, mate. So congratulations. It was a fairly slippery track, and this place is known for, a bit of a lack of grip, and it's very easy to get out of shape and in trouble here. No major damage out there tonight. There was a couple of bumps against the wall from a few people, but it was very good in the fact that Monday night we had some major damage on some of these vehicles, some of the trucks. Didn't see that tonight, so that's just a fantastic thing to see, and some great racing. So once again, congratulations on the win. Some more valuable points in the hunt for this championship with three rounds to go. What are your thoughts on next week, mate? We're heading to Talladega.
No. Next week's about survival, and anyone can win that one.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, and people who are watching and listening that are not really aware may think, but, you know, it's Talladega, it's a super speedway. All they've got to do is just go fast and be careful. No, it's a lot easier to come together and have a crash when you're going at 315 kilometres an hour, or just close to 180, 190 miles an hour. And things tend to happen a whole lot faster and a whole lot easier, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do.
All right, mate. Well, look, congratulations. Best of luck next week as well, as you try and march your way through these final 3 rounds and hold the lead of the championship. So, Jason Martin, congratulations. Anybody you want to say good day to, I'll give a shout out to before you head off.
I just got to thank RRTV for the broadcast. Hopefully it was as entertaining to watch as it was for me to race it.
Going by the comments in the live chat, yeah, the few people that were actually pretty much enjoying that, mate, that were making comments about it. So well done on that. Thanks, mate.
No worries. See you, mate.
Yeah, and we just heard from Darren McKenzie as well. He said he went 90 laps on that first stint, Steve, and his car was very loose. So that underlines what Jason was talking about with tyre wear. Darren McKenzie's also looking forward to the super speedway. So that's going to be fun next week.
Look, as far as the trucks are concerned, we're there on Monday night, and I can't wait to get there. Monday cannot come soon enough for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, speaking of, I don't have a comeback for that. I was trying to work out a segue. Let's bring Danny G up and have a chat with him. He started second, finished second in the number 24. I'll let you have this interview, Steve, because I'm a nice guy.
No worries. G'day, Danny. How are you?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Not bad, mate. Congratulations. Second place, well and truly entrenched in the podium. Started second, finished second. You'd be feeling pretty good right about now. You're having a good run at the moment.
Yeah, I am. And, that was actually really good. I'm really happy with that.
A few things throughout the race, actually. I mean, there were some times there where you sort of a little bit of a butt clencher, wasn't there?
Yeah, definitely. There was one good moment coming out of turn 4 with Micklemore, Edward Foster. I think Dave Douglas was involved. I think Colt was trying to get to the pits and it sort of stacked up in front. We all went across the front stretch 3 wide, trying not to wreck.
Oh, yeah. And then, yeah, of course, towards the end of the race, you see that damn purple 21 coming at you again when he started dead mother's last.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'd led like 40, 50 laps at that stage, and then I saw him coming behind me. I went, it's just a matter of time. And then he pitted, which I was surprised with, and I thought, I really didn't know what to do, so I just went with him and just prayed that it would stay green for a while, and it did, so that worked out well.
Well, we had one caution period, I believe. And I think it was, who was it, Darren McKenzie or Dave Douglas did 90 laps, did you say?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what laps they did, but yeah, it was really good that there was only one caution. All through practice, you know, people were wrecking out of turn 4, off turn 2. I expected at least 2 or 3 people to go around, but no, everyone raced really well and it was good. Yeah,
sorry, mate, I was actually asking Bernie because he'd only just mentioned that, but I couldn't see him, and I've turned around, and he's into the bloody Jats crackers behind me. I've had to slap him on the fingers and get him to get back on the mic.
All I heard was blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we know that. You talk under wet cement as well. And so, look, fantastic race, mate. It all came together. It was a great stream. Would have been fantastic for people to watch because we had one single retirement, and I was actually noting earlier with Bernie that the furthest anyone went down lap-wise tonight was 2 laps, which was fantastic. Matt Clowett was the only retirement, and that only happened about 8 or 9 laps, I think, before the end, after he had a little bit of a coming together with somebody and obviously did a bit of damage to the vehicle when he clouded the wall. The damage didn't look too severe, but he pitted the car and got out, so... that was the only retirement and one single solitary caution period. So some great racing here tonight. It's certainly the opposite to what I expected after Monday in the trucks. I thought we were going to be getting caution periods all night long. We were going to be till midnight.
Yeah, so did I, actually. So, no, it's really good. The rest of the field should pat themselves on the back for racing really hard and really well.
Yeah, no, it was. And the guys who did get a little bit loose managed to catch it most of the time. I think the worst we saw most of the race was a couple of brushes against the wall. And that was actually not the usual suspects. It was the front riders. Jason Martin had some right-hand side front fender damage, as well as Daniel Stevens. So, yeah, but the majority of the field kept it clean and tidy. So it made for some great racing right to the end. With about half of the field on the lead lap. So that was fantastic stuff. So congratulations again on the second place. You want to give a shout out to anybody, Danny?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And yeah, just shout out to MFR Racing, West and Mazda, WPC Concreting, Auto Kings, RacingLeagues.com, and of course you guys at RRTV for the broadcast. Thank you. Not
a problem, mate. You are very welcome. And we'll catch you next week at Talladega. You got your you got your super speedway head on?
Oh, not yet, but yeah, no, it should be a great race. So looking forward to that.
No worries. We'll catch you later. Thanks, Danny G. Second place, started second, finished second. That was a great run.
Easy. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Bernie, before we actually do look at talking to anybody else, there is something I'd like to say. I must give a shout out to somebody who couldn't be here tonight and couldn't race because he became a daddy a couple of days ago. So, good day and congrats to Roger and his family and young Charlotte, who's the new arrival to the world. Also, the news today that, I know people refer to me that way, but the legend Darryl Eastlake passed away today after a long illness, and he was no young man, but a legend in the commentating game, Bernie.
Yeah, it's a sad loss for Australia. He was an absolute legend. Died at the age of 75, unfortunately, today. Succumbed to emphysema and Alzheimer's, and he'll be greatly missed, of course. He, we grew up with it, that booming voice, that extra big personality on Wide World of Sports, and he did, the Iron Man and wherever else, and, he's going to be sadly missed by a lot of people. So, sad news. But on brighter news, Roger, fancy calling his daughter Charlotte. I wonder where he got this one from.
The rumour is that he was actually going to call a Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, but he got in trouble, so he had to change it.
Yeah, I think he's after another one. He's going to call it Daytona, and that'll be the next one.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't call it Bristol. Okay, you want to bring somebody up for a quick chat? Who we got down there?
Yeah, I'll bring someone up very quickly, but before we do, a bit more on that contact between Mackenzie and Clowett there. Clowett actually ran out of fuel, and Darren wasn't expecting it. That's how that incident occurred, and he must have been right on fumes because he was running and running and running. So, just a bit more goss there, folks, from the pit lane. We might have our final interview tonight, folks, and that will be with Josh Micklemore. He finished in third position, and because we've got a lot of interviews up there, I think we'll stop at third. What do you reckon?
I reckon that'll just about do it. He would have run out of fuel because he tried to pit about 2 laps earlier and couldn't actually get in there because of the cars on the inside line. So I think that's what did it for him. Yeah,
we saw him held out there, didn't we? But anyway, sorry.
We did. Yeah, good day, Josh. How are you, mate?
How are you, fellas? Yeah, not too bad.
Third place. Congrats, mate. A nice run tonight.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Had a few issues during the race, but yeah, it's all good fun.
Mate, to be honest, there was a lot of little things and a few rubs here and there, but all in all, it was a really clean event. It was a really clean run by the entire field, actually. We were just discussing there the reason why Matt Clowett actually pulled the pin with only about 8 laps or something to go. It turns out he actually ran out of fuel because he did make an attempt to pit after running nearly the entire race. He actually tried to pit and couldn't get there because the car's on the inside line. And so he continued on and then actually ran out of fuel. And poor old Joshua Carroll, Walden wasn't expecting it and gave him a bit of a touch-up. So that explains what happened to him there. And it was right just not long before the end of the race. So, but your event seemed to go fairly well. I mean, a few little touch-ups here and there, but certainly nothing major, mate.
Yeah, there was an incident when me and Jason come back through the field after we pitted, and I think Matt Clowett was pitting, but I wasn't sure if he was pitting or coming back up the track, and I had Edward on the outside of me, and Edward got into each other, but I was too busy watching Matt to see what he was doing, and got into Edward, and then Danny G went around the outside of us then, that was it, but yeah.
Oh, I do remember that now. Yeah, you were down on the inside of him or something. Is that the one you're referring to, on the inside of Edward?
Edward, yeah.
Yeah. No, that I remember commenting at the time that Edward did particularly well to hold that and pull it back in line. Look, there was a group of about 5 cars there, so it was possible that somebody was going to touch somebody, and it didn't end in disaster. It was one of those things that you would have preferred to avoid, though, I imagine.
Yeah, I was trying to keep Danny G behind me. Me and Jace were having a good battle through the field there for a while, and then I sort of dropped off. But, sort of trying to keep him behind me, but, yeah, then that happened, that was it. But, it's all good fun.
No, well, that's great, mate. Look, in third place, pulls in some handy points. You got a good handful of points there. 3 rounds to go. And is my mind playing tricks, or are you one of the drivers that actually prefers or enjoys the super speedways?
Not really.
Oh, okay. It must have been somebody else I was thinking of.
No, it's not really me. I'm not really huge on, to be honest with you. But
Oh, well, that's where we are next week, mate. We've got Talladega. So
yeah.
then I believe we have, what is it, Dover and Kansas, I think, is the remainder. So Talladega, Dover, then Kansas. So we've got a super speedway, and one of the final two tracks is 1.5 miles, and the other one's another short one. So there's a bit of a combination and variety just in those last three. So anything could happen, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So you enjoyed the run tonight, did you?
Yeah. I'm not huge on Richmond either, but it's all right. But it's not one of my favourite tracks or anything. But no, I'm happy to come away with the top three.
Yeah, I think most people are just happy to come here and live through it and survive and get out.
Especially after Bristol last week.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Came a lap short.
But yeah, all right, mate. Look, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Just ANZCAR for doing everything they do for the league. They're pretty flat out with everything they do, and it's getting better and better every week, so that's good. And you guys for giving up your nights for watching us clowns go around in circles.
Mate, look, it was actually really entertaining because we only had the one retirement and the one caution. That made it really entertaining because we kept expecting something to happen. And it was like really the whole race, we're just waiting for something to happen. And it was just constant racing, except for that one early caution period. Then the green flag pit stops had to start. And so, no, it was very entertaining. It was well worth being here. A constant crash fest might have been a bit different, which is, to be honest, I expected a lot of spins and I expected quite a few contacts, at least with the wall, because that's what we had on Monday night in the trucks. So once again, the way the trucks have run on the Monday night turns out to be different to the way the cars were running on Thursday night, one way or the other. I think it was not Bristol, but the track before that, I think, where we had a fantastic run, but the Xfinity cars in this series were all over the place and they had no grip. So it was, you never quite know, just because of the way it goes on Monday night, how it's going to go on Thursday night. So very entertaining to watch tonight, and we enjoyed your move at the front of the field there. So congratulations on that, and good luck for next week.
Yeah, no, all good. Cheers, fellas.
Fantastic. That was Josh Micklemore, folks, coming home third. The fastest lap tonight goes to the 08 of Darren McKenzie. He set a time of 22.500 and was classified in 11th position at the end of the race here tonight, folks. So hope you've enjoyed the run. Very fast race tonight, Steve. Only one caution, very, very long green run there, and one retirement. So, I was expecting it to have a few more spins and a bit more incidents, but we didn't have that tonight.
No, look, it's exactly what I expected, Bernie. But, that's exactly what I was just saying to Josh Micklemore then. I mean, it seems that whatever the trucks do on the Monday, you can expect the exact opposite from these things on the Thursday. Whether the trucks have a good, smooth, clean run or whether they have a sloppy one like we did on Monday. But these things always seem to do the opposite. So for better or for worse, that's the way it seems to work out.
Yeah, definitely. And although we did have that round where it was very eerie, where the caution came out on the exact same lap as the trucks on the Monday night, and it was pretty much a mirror as far as that went. But speaking of further action here, folks, come back tomorrow night. That'll be RRTV's next broadcast. We're coming to you from Mid-Ohio for round 14 of the Australian Online Supercar Championships. It's the Mid-Ohio 650 Enduro, and Daniel Leet will be joining me in the comm-box to call all that action. That will start tomorrow night, 7:15 p.m. GMT plus 11, and plus 10, sorry, and it should be a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. And what else have you got happening on the weekend, mate?
The weekend we've got the GT3's final round at Phillip Island. That's for the racingleagues.com series, and that will be on check your local guides, as in our YouTube and Facebook page for the exact time, but that's around about 7:30 p.m. Saturday night. Then we've got Sim Racers Asia GT3 kicking off at 10 p.m. later that evening, and that will be an hour enduro. So we've got a double header of GT3 action, and then the next race after that will be the Skip Barber Monday Night Lights with Alex McKellar and his team of commentators.
Fantastic stuff. Sounds like some great viewing for anybody who actually enjoys sitting and watching the fantastic sim racing that we see on RRTV. And next Monday night, the ANZCAR trucks are off to Talladega. So that should be very interesting. We'll see who can actually handle it at the high speed. So you want to see some fast trucks? Check out the Thursday night stream for the Thursday Thunder on RRTV next week for the highlights package. And thank you very much to APCS, who are sponsoring the Thursday night Thunder series. Great to have them on board. And Monday night, of course, the series for the trucks sponsored by 131 Web Radio, who are found at 131webradio.net. So, on behalf of ANZCAR, thanks to RRTV for yet another great broadcast. I was happy to be here, and looking forward to next week. And not only do I get to race at Talladega, a couple of days later, I get to actually commentate it too. That's going to be great.
Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, folks, on that note, on behalf of Steve Hoppert, I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic evening. Friday tomorrow, yippee, and then the weekend. But until we meet again, don't know where, don't know when, have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you again soon. Good night.